Hey guys, this week we are talking about Vegas Would You Rathers, listener questions, and more, so stick around.
Well, your voice sounds good.
It's rough. This episode is sponsored by Verizon Wireless. New and existing customers can get the new iPhone 16 Pro for free. Visit Verizon.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 64 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris. He's Josh. Josh, what's going on?
Well, Chris, I don't know about you, but sometimes at lunch at work, I go out and take a little walk. And, you know, because I'm getting up there in age, I go to the nearest mall and I mall walk.
Oh, wow. I didn't think you were allowed to do that till like 60 or 65.
Exactly.
What is that called? Silver shoes or something where they give you a free gym membership or something?
No, I do a few paces in the mall, and, you know, sometimes I'll go into the Target and do some shopping. So, you know, there are certain things that are okay to do in your house that aren't okay in public, right?
Okay.
You know, they're okay at home. They're not terrible things, but you don't want to do them in public. So I'm walking today and I'm in the mall and I go by a Panera's. You guys have Panera's there, right?
Of course,
you know
yes.
Panera's.
Yeah.
And I see a guy sitting at the table and he's got his meal in front of him. He's got a bowl of soup. Next thing I know, he's licking the bowl of soup.
Oh, wow. I mean, he's going all in on this thing.
And I just thought to myself, that is one of those things like drinking from a milk carton. You know, that's not too bad, but just licking the bowl at a restaurant is not, just keep that at home.
Yeah, I agree that. Well, granted, I wouldn't do that at home. So let alone in a restaurant. And I've never drank directly from a milk carton before.
Really?
Never.
Even as a kid?
No, never.
I think I did as a kid. I don't think I would
I guess just
now.
manners are more important to me, Josh, than you.
Well, you know, the Southern manners and things, it kind of...
That's what it is.
We're bohemian up here, so...
Yeah, you guys are crazy up there.
Anyway, that was just something that just happened, and I thought I got to tell you about it because it was like, just as a lesson for everybody, don't lick the bowl in a restaurant.
No, that's good advice for all people in life.
Right. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you notice that Chris is not speaking as much or if he's a little froggy, he's fighting a little, what is it, allergies, Chris, you said?
Yeah, if you live in this part of the country, allergies just dominate your life, and they have dominated mine right now.
So we're going to try and let me do the talking. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
We'll find out. Well, let's tell people how to get a hold of us, Josh. Okay, if you want to send us an email, that is podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us over on our Facebook group. That's crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail. That's crapvegas.com/voicemail. Or the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crab Vegas. Okay, previous episode feedback, Josh. Last episode, we talked about high limit room benefits, pros, cons, all that good stuff. And we got a lot of different messages back from people. And there's a couple things I think on the pro side that we left off that I thought we would mention.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing. We forgot a few things.
Absolutely. So here's the ones that I at least heard about. High limit bathrooms. All high limit rooms seem to have their own bathroom in it. They're always much higher quality. They're usually individual rooms for one person. Private sinks, private stalls, just private everything. And they're usually well adorned.
Yes, they are. They usually have sometimes real linen. Sometimes they have lotions in them, all sorts of fun stuff. So even if you're not...
mouthwash.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, mouthwash. And you can take the little bottles of mouthwash. Not that I would do such a thing, but you could. One could.
Yes, you would.
So, Chris, as far as bathrooms, which is your favorite high-limit bathroom?
Ooh, good question. Got to think about it for a second.
Would you rather use the high-limit bathroom at the Wynn slots area or the Bellagio one behind the craps tables?
See, I don't use them as much as you do. So I don't have like intimate reminder knowledge of these. The one that jumps out to my mind is one that I always did like a lot is Aria's high limit room, not the cave,
Right.
but the other high limit slot area that has tables behind it. That bathroom right there is very nice. The Palazzo high limit bathroom, I think, is pretty nice. The Bellagio one was just okay in my eyes.
Yeah, I like it because a lot of them are just single person. You know, the whole room is single person room.
Yes.
So you can go in there and lock the door and you kind of have more
that is
privacy
nice.
than you. Yeah. The one I remember, just as we're talking about it, at Fountain Blue, and I think I told the story, it's a ways back, if I remember, through their high limit gaming salon, but it was a very nice space. And a lot of times in addition to the bathroom itself, they have kind of loungy areas, and they're usually pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that people pointed out, Josh, better rules. I can't believe we didn't mention this last time, but yes, playing in high limit, especially if we're talking table games, you're going to see much better rules on the table. And if we're talking slots, you're probably going to see better payback on things like video poker.
Yes, not only that, but on slot machines, my understanding, and I'm by no means a slot expert, it's not officially Slot Vegas, but my understanding is that the higher denomination you play on a slot machine, the less house edge there is. And that doesn't mean in the high limit room. So, a penny machine, the house edge is going to be greater than a machine whose minimum is $1, that kind of thing. But you're more likely to find those higher denomination machines in a high limit slot room.
Absolutely. And quarterly, those reports do come out that show like across the Las Vegas area, broken down by strip, downtown, property size, that sort of thing. It tells you the hold by denomination.
Right.
And like Josh said, typically, the higher you get on denomination wise, the lower the hold is. They just don't have to take as much when you're playing $25 as the base bet.
Exactly. And like I said, it doesn't have to be in the high limit room, but if you're going to play $1 a spin or whatever it is, then try and find it in the high limit room so you get not only the better advantage on the machine, but you get the amenities of the high limit room.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I had, Josh, I completely forgot about this, snacks.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of high limit rooms, especially on the slot side, that will have cookies and nuts and all sorts of snacks sat out for players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're really nice. And drinks just sitting there and bottles of water available, all sorts of things. Yeah, they're great. I think Cosmo, probably you would know better than I did, used to have great cookies, didn't they?
They did. And from what I understand, they're back, even though we don't play there anymore, so it's hard to tell. I've heard that they're back, but they're now wrapped up, like individually wrapped cookies. They used to have them just sitting out. Anybody could grab whatever they wanted.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't mind that. But snacks I can't believe we missed snacks.
Oh, yeah. And if you play in the Talon Club over at Cosmo, their high limit space there, they'll bring you pretty much anything you want food wise that you can eat at, in that area. I mean, there's a lot of different options out there playing high limit.
Yeah. So thanks for those observations on the high limit rooms. Those are absolutely things that are to be considered.
Yeah. Email from Brett Josh. Hey guys, it's so awesome to hear you guys are coming over to the dark side and becoming slot players. Well, hold on. Don't throw me into this bunch. That's just Josh. I made the shift about 5 years ago and haven't looked back since. My offers have quadrupled, my rooms and entertainment have gotten far nicer, and I'm treated far better than I ever was as a table games player. Question for Josh. Do you play any other slots than Huff and Puff, or is that where you focus your money?
Well, thanks, Brett. I'm trying to get Chris over too. We'll bring him over to the dark side. He will desire to be treated as you and I have grown accustomed to. I am, as you kind of can figure out if you've listened to the show a fair bit, I get attached to certain things, whether it's restaurants or particular slot machines. I'm a creature of habit, and like I'm a Starbucks first thing in the morning, all that stuff. So right now it's Huff and Puff. I'm intrigued about the new Huff and Puff Mansions machine, which I've seen a few people post on Twitter. Boondocks posted it recently, who's a patron of ours. And so I'm excited to play that on the next trip to Vegas. But no, I need to branch out and try some other slot machines if I'm going to go down this road a little bit. One cannot live on Huff and Puff alone.
I mean, you can. I mean, you've done a pretty damn good job of it. But I like a little bit more variety in what I do. His next question, what is your average tip for a hand pay?
Good question. So it's probably Chris and I time to redo a tipping segment on the show.
Probably.
Chris and I talked about tipping a long, long time ago on the show. But it depends on the size of the hand pay. And it depends for me, and it depends on, honestly, how I'm doing and kind of the level I'm playing and the frequency that I'm having hand pay. So what I mean by that is on the last trip where I was playing a lot at a high level, I was getting, $1,200, $13 $100 hand pays every 5 minutes, it seemed like. That's an exaggeration, but it seemed very frequent. So I'd see the same slot attendant every 10 minutes. And I got to a point, I was losing a little bit, but I also got to a point where I was thinking, I'm tipping this person a lot of money in the aggregate altogether. So maybe I'm tipping too much. But so that doesn't really answer the question directly, and I'm not trying to avoid it, but it's usually kind of a minimum of $30-ish up to probably no more than $100 for a decent sized hand pay. But it kind of depends on how I'm doing and how I feel. I'm always tipping something. I'm never not tipping. And I think it's pretty good comparable with the size of the bonus, but those are some factors that go in.
Yeah. And I typically, my minimum's usually 40, but I rarely go more than like 60, 80.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not getting $10,000, $12,000 hand pays very often.
Right. And I've never hit one that's so big that I had to think about, a huge tip, that kind of thing.
I gotcha. Yeah. Josh, next question you had. Also, a lot of talk about your new program level at Venetian and MGM. What is or are your biggest gambling goals for 2025? To hit Noir at MGM, get a true penthouse suite, maybe a villa? Love the show. Keep up the good work, Brett.
Good question, Brett. I would love to be Noir at MGM, but it would require, as we've talked about, I think it would require me to focus almost all my gambling time there. And I want to play with Chris, and Chris wants to split up, and we really like Venetian Palazzo right now. So I think Noir is probably not going to happen. I mean, I guess it could conceivably happen if I keep playing slots the way I am, or I have been. I actually kind of have dreams of getting like a sky villa at MGM sometime, or some sort of villa would be fun. At least once. What about you, Chris?
I can't set my goals that high, Josh. As a table games player
No,
at these
that's true.
places, I'm not going to see those things unless, my income significantly increases and we're talking 20 years from now or something. I could see you hitting Noir, Josh. I mean, it sounds like MGM is going to keep their tier credit accelerator bonuses probably for the next 50 years at this point. They just don't seem to be moving away from it. So I think it's going to keep going. So it really means that you only have to earn about 1 million credits.
Right.
And I don't think that that's out of hand for you at all. So I do think that's something that's that's obtainable in 2025.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. And thanks for good questions, Brett. Those are great questions. And we'll get Chris playing some more slots.
We'll see. We got an email from Will. Sounds like Josh is living the dream life right now. Loved hearing about your guys' recent trips. Question for you both. Do you usually tip your host? If so, how much and through what method? I don't know why we got so many tipping questions this week, Josh, but obviously we do need to go back to that topic soon.
Thanks, Will. Good question. This is a question that comes up a lot. I mean, you'll see it on Vegas Facebook message boards. You'll see it on our Crap Vegas Facebook page. You'll see it everywhere. And I remember, I'm pretty sure, before I even, kind of when I went down the road of being a hosted player, asking the same question: are you supposed to tip your host? How do you tip your host? The short answer is it's up to you. Obviously, the school of thought is a host is compensated based on your play, so they're already getting paid based on your play, and there's no expectation of a tip. Now, that's one side, and a lot of people don't tip their host, and I don't always tip my host. On the other hand, if you feel like your host is going over and above a corporate offer, really stepping up for you, whether it's just giving you more free play or a better suite than you would otherwise get, or if the host is getting you tickets that seem to be more than you'd get on the corporate side, anything like that where the host really seems to be going over and above what your corporate offer seems to be, or if the host is just really cool and responsive and friendly and all the things that make you want to come back there, I think a tip is absolutely a great idea. Chris and I do it. Chris and I lately have been kind of tipping our host, particularly the Venetian, together. We'll each chip in. We'll give a tip that way. Hosts can do different things. Some hosts at some properties can take gift cards. Some hosts can take cash. Some hosts can take a gift of some tangible thing like nice bouquet of flowers or something. I'm just making that up, but
I don't recommend that, by the way.
Bringing your host flowers.
No, I'm just saying tangible gifts in general, I don't recommend.
Anyway, so the answer is most of the time hosts can take a tip. And as far as how much, it just kind of depends. I mean, for me, it's been kind of roughly in the $100 range, usually something like that. But it depends on what you're getting and how much value you think it's worth, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything Josh said. Recently, it's easiest for us. We've just been doing cash with our host. You can usually at the gift shop buy like a thank you envelope. They'll have a card and an envelope for you. That's what we did.
They're prepared.
And we'll just put some cash in there and put her name on it and hand it to her when we see her, or just leave it with the hostess, depending with the person's name on it. If you want to do that, you can do that too. But they always prefer cash. And it's rare that you'll find a host when you ask that says, I don't want cash. So there you go.
And if you're doing gift cards, it's always a little weird. Like, what if the person doesn't shop on Amazon? Or, how do I know what gift card to get? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Last feedback message of the week, Josh. We got an email from dealer Jay over at Wynn about why people place the point instead of playing the line that we talked about last episode. Jay said, "Hi guys, great show. Regarding the place bet versus pass line bet, some people play to get a better rating as a place bet since they don't get credit for odds and craps. I didn't even think about mentioning that, Josh.
That's true.
But yes, that is a main reason that a lot of people would do that.
Yep. And part of the reason I switched to being, and maybe you switched to being an across type player, is it helps your rating.
It's one of the reasons I don't come bet,
Right.
just from a rating perspective. But yeah, I mean, pass line, same thing. Jay also said, I drive Uber and Lyft. You keep mentioning cabs. Give rideshare a plug too. They give casinos good service as well. Hope to see you guys soon. Big J, win craps.
So, Jay, thanks so much. And I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad Rick turned you onto the show. It means a lot to us. Great questions. And you're right about cabs. I think Chris and I both tend to say grab a cab as shorthand, but
Sure.
for me, at least, I'm probably rideshare, Lyft, or Uber 60% of the time. If I'm not getting a transportation provided by the hotel at the airport, I almost always do Lyft or Uber because usually it's a little less than a cab, even with the fixed rate. I can usually, but I price shop. I know what the fixed rates are for the cab, so I'll pull up Uber and Lyft and see what it's going to cost me to get to whatever hotel I'm going to and do it that way. But it's a great way to do it.
So thank you for the message, Jay. We appreciate it. Okay, Josh, would you rather? We brought this up in the prelude to the episode.
I thought we were going to play Never Have I Ever.
Yeah, same sort of thing. It's almost identical. I recently ran a poll on Twitter that stirred up a ton of debate. I thought it would be fun to run through some of that and see where we fall on some choices. The one that I had posed to Twitter was, would you rather receive $1 million today or the chance to flip a coin for $500 million? That Twitter poll got over 600 votes, and it was remarkably close the whole time. It ended up at 53-47 in favor of taking the million. Josh, where do you fall on that?
So, Chris, when I first saw that tweet the day you posted it or tweeted it, I thought the $1 million. I would take the $1 million. Now, I didn't vote that way. And in thinking about it, I thought, no. And I think it depends on people's life situation. So for me, obviously, $1 million would be nice. We all want $1 million, but it wouldn't be life altering money. Whereas obviously 500 million would be. Maybe not obviously, maybe not to everybody, but to me it would be. And so I think I would flip the coin and try for the 500 million over the million. Now I messaged Chris back the day he posted it and I said, what about 5 million? Where would the tipping point be? So what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, good question. I lean towards the $500 million coin flip.
Right.
If you're a mathematical person, you would say the expected value on that coin flip is 250 million.
Right.
As opposed to the 1 million guaranteed. But that's, of course, if you had infinite possibilities there to do this. And that's not the case. It's either really 0, $1 million, or $500,000 or 500 million. So it is a big jump. And I would feel horrible if I flipped a coin and landed on the wrong side. So I would lean towards just taking the million myself. You're asking at what point I would absolutely just take the money, no matter how much is offered on the upside. Somewhere between 3 and 5 million.
Yeah.
If it hit that level, I think there's no doubt about it. I don't care what the upside is. I don't care if you're offering $1 billion on a coin flip. I would take the 3 to 5 at that point.
Yeah, I think I would too. So question though, that I think really dictates the answer is, do you get to call the coin flip? Do you get to call the coin?
See, I would feel much better if you didn't. I would just say, I'd prefer if they told me heads you win the money, tails you don't, and I don't get to flip the coin either. Somebody else is doing it. I want to have no cause of me not getting the money.
Right. It could be like the Super Bowl now, where the team calls it before the coin is even flipped.
Yeah,
you don't call it in the air or anything. You have to call it ahead of time. And
no, I mean I get you there. It's it's kind of like at a craps table, Josh. I'm not one of those people typically. But there are a lot of people that don't like shooting on the craps table because they feel too ultimately responsible for what happens during the roll.
Which you sometimes do if there's and I sometimes do if there's a high roller, a really high roller at the other side. And, you feel kind of responsible.
You do. Yeah. Now that doesn't stop me from shooting. I don't pass the dice ever, no matter how bad I've been doing. I don't pass. But at the same time, I know there are a lot of people like that. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to have anything to do with the coin flip itself.
Now, you might be saying, what does this have to do with Vegas and why is this on the show?
Yes, you may be saying that. And that conversation just happened to randomly come up at my office that day. So it spurned a tweet to go out and all that. But I thought, Josh, why don't we take some of those would you rathers that you could come up in the Vegas or gambling space and see where we fall on those.
I like it. This was fun. As Chris and I were getting ready for this, Chris doesn't know mine. I don't know his. So this will be a fun little exercise.
Okay, so Josh, here we go. Let's start off with mine.
All right.
Would you rather have a penthouse suite at Gold Coast with $5,000 in free play, or just a Tower Suites room at Wynn with $1,000 in free play?
Oh, I think I'd do Gold Coast.
You think so?
Do they have penthouse suites?
I have no idea. Maybe.
I think I'd do Gold Coast because I would just like to have the experience of it. You said 5,000, right?
Yes.
So 5,000 is a lot of, 5,000 is a good amount of free play. We'd have a great story to tell on the show about the penthouse suite at Gold Coast.
Okay. So you're doing it for content generation purposes.
I'm doing it for content generation. If you take the content generation out, I think I'd still do it. 5,000 is a lot. 5,000 is fun to play with, and free play, yes, even though you can turn it into a certain percentage of your own money and things like that, it is still free money. And if it was just given to me, it'd be fun to play with. However, I'd try some different slot machines other than Huff and Puff and that kind of thing. So I think I'd do that. What about you?
Well, see, since I'm a table games player and not a slot player, I'm thinking, okay, if they're going to give me $5,000, and I don't care what kind, say they're $5,000 in play till you lose chips, which would be the best option.
Yes.
The problem is I would still have to play $5,000 through on craps tables over at Gold Coast, which typically only has like a $500 table max on their games.
There's that.
And they don't even keep, black chips on the table sometimes. Like, I'm thinking the logistics of this would not go well. I'd constantly be hitting table maximum. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much. And the room doesn't matter to me at all. I really don't care if I have a penthouse suite there or just a normal room at Wynn. There's no difference to me.
Right.
So from just a pure enjoyment perspective, I think I would just take the Wynn room and the lesser free play.
That's it to me. I mean, when you're talking about would you rather, not to a Tower Suites room and $1,000 free play is kind of what we get at Wynn anyway. So it's just the same as always.
Yes. I am a creature of habit, Josh. I don't want to
there
change.
you
I
are
guess.
too.
And you're getting $1,000 in free play? What have I been missing out on?
I'm a slot player now, Chris.
Exactly.
All right, Chris, let's do one of mine next. So, Chris, would you rather spend 24 hours at Oyo or 24 hours at El Cortez? You can't leave the property.
Oh, I would skip that trip if that was the option. Between the two, I would say El Cortez.
Okay.
Now granted, Josh, I technically trespassed from that property,
well,
so
right,
legally I don't know if I can step foot in
right.
there. But if you rule it out, playing blackjack at El Cortez it's a vibe. It's not my new vibe, but it's a vibe. Going to Oyo, I feel like between like getting proposition for not only sex, but also like multiple drugs and everything else, and just the level of dirt associated with that property. God, even El Cortez sounds good against that. So I'm going to go El Cortez.
Well, interesting. I was thinking, before I put in the caveat that you can't leave, I was thinking Oyo, because you can get to the strip, you can walk to the strip from Oyo without too much trouble. But limiting yourself to being in the property, not being able to leave it, I still might do Oyo because at least you've got Hooters.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what you've got at El Cortez.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about it from a food perspective.
You've got to eat, Chris.
Yeah, you do have to eat. I think Rowley's tells you that. Gosh, I don't know, Josh. Factoring that in, maybe I would change my mind a little bit. I'm still going to say El Cortez, though. I'll just starve if I need to for the day.
So what if you could leave the property? Any difference? Make a change?
Yeah, if you're asking me if I'm going to roam around downtown
you just have to sleep somewhere.
Versus being at Oyo, but being able to walk up to the strip or over to Virgin or whatever. Yeah, right. I would do that instead.
All right, there we go.
Josh, one along those same lines that I had. Would you rather spend a whole trip off the strip or a whole trip downtown? Can't leave that geographic area.
So like Red Rock kind of idea? Or Durango? Is that what you're thinking?
Sure. You can go up to Gold Coast. You can go across the street and go to Oyo. You can do all that stuff. But you can't go on the actual strip or downtown if you're off.
Gotcha. I'd go off strip first without even a second thought. There's enough stuff downtown that I don't want to be around for long periods of time that I think I could isolate. If I could go to Green Valley Ranch or Red Rock or whatever and just hang out there forever, that no brainer. How about you?
Oh, exact same. I have no desire at this age now to want to go downtown for anything. I would say it happened before, but now that I'm officially in my 40s, I have zero desire to go downtown.
I still like to go sometimes. We still go sometimes.
When was the last time we went, Josh?
We went down to check out Binions.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't actually play. When was the last time you and I went downtown and actually played?
Well, it would be sometime. Yeah. Whenever we went last to Golden Gate, but it's been a while since you and I. But I still like to go down with. Yeah,
just kidding.
I may go down for Zorkfest. We'll see if we end up downtown.
Okay, what's your next one?
All right, here we go. And this, I kind of think I know where you're going to go, but maybe not. Would you go $4,000 of free play or 2 nights at a Sky Villa at Aria?
$4,000 in free play. No doubt about it. I do not care about the Sky Villa. I don't use it. I don't look out the window. Even when we get normal Sky Suites that are 1,800, 2,000 square feet, what am I doing with all that space? It's wasted on me. Give me the free play. I'll take it and be happy.
What about $1,000 in free play or a Sky Villa?
I think I would take the villa at that point just to say that I had been in one.
Right.
Just to have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Because 1,000 isn't going to make or break me one way or the other. But yeah, anything more than that, I'm going to just take the free play.
I think at 4,000, I was thinking about it kind of myself, and I was thinking about where the line would be. I think 4,000, I'd probably take the free play, but I think for 3 or close, anything below 4, I'd take the Sky Villa. I think I want to see one of them. I want to get one of those sometime.
Now that Fading Crap Vegas is a podcast, Josh, for our listeners, I think you have setting lines in your mind way too much now.
The over-under on.
If I set the over-under at 3,100, I think that's a fair level to put it at.
It's true.
Okay, my next one, Josh. Would you rather spend 1 night in Las Vegas, I don't care where, or 3 nights in Tahoe?
Oh, boy.
This is Josh that never takes a trip less than 4 nights anywhere.
That's not true. I take single nights every once in a while. At least
where?
2.
Not to Vegas.
No, not to Vegas. Chris takes single nights to Vegas, and it takes him 5 hours to get there, or 7 hours to get there, or something. Whereas it takes me only 2. So, do I get to choose my room at Tahoe?
Yeah, you can choose wherever you want to stay at either place,
and no restrictions on family or anything.
No, 1 night in Vegas or 3 nights in Tahoe.
I think based on that room that I had at Harvey's or Harris, whichever room I had at Zorkfest last year, with that great view and that shower and all that stuff, I think I might take Tahoe.
Okay.
How about you?
I mean, you know me. I'm the opposite here. As somebody that does 1 nights in Vegas all the time, that's the direction I lean here. There's something about Vegas that it's unmatched. I'd rather be there for 24 hours than even if you told me I could be a week in Tahoe. I would just rather be in Vegas.
Oh, there we go. Okay, Chris, would you rather do a solo dinner at the Rainforest Cafe at MGM Grand,
which I've done many times, so keep going,
or a solo dinner at Dick's Last Resort at Excalibur?
Oh, I would do Rainforest Cafe in a heartbeat. I used to eat there all the time by myself. It doesn't bother me at all. There we go. I don't particularly like going to Dick's Last Resort. No. And going as a person by themselves, that has got to be the most miserable experience a person can have.
I was thinking that too.
God, that would be horrible.
The insult would be.
Do they even put the hat on you with words on it? Because nobody else can see it. I mean, people at other tables could, but.
And keep in mind, I eat by myself all the time in Vegas, so I'm not nothing. We're not saying anything bad about it. I'm a big believer in solo dining, but so I didn't know you had a history at Rainforest Cafe.
It's just a place that I used to run to when I stayed at Planet Hollywood a lot. You had the one upstairs there.
Right.
And I used to run up there, and sometimes I'd bring it back to the room, but sometimes I didn't want it to get cold. So I would just eat up there at the bar or a single table or, whatever is easy. I used to do the same thing at Margaritaville at Flamingo.
I was thinking that the kids at Rainforest Cafe might steer you towards Dick's.
No, not at all. Didn't stop me at all.
All right, there we go. What you got?
Next one for me, Josh. You get to choose one of these 2 sets of shows. You're going to see 3 shows when you're in Vegas. You got to choose one of the 2. Here's option A. You can see Absinthe, Awakening, and the Puppetry of the Penis.
Okay.
Or B, you can choose Zombie Burlesque, Chris Angel, and Menopause the Musical.
Oh, geez. Well, give me the first one again.
Absinthe, Awakening, and Puppetry of the Penis. Or Zombie Burlesque, Chris Angel, and Menopause the Musical.
I think I'd go option 1. I think that the two good, 2
good shows now. Which ones are you talking about, Josh?
The one, I don't know much about Puppetry the Penis, so I can't make a really educated statement on that. But Awakening, Absinthe kind of overpowers the good side.
Okay.
So that's enough to carry through the other two. And then what? Then we had Menopause the Musical, Zombie Burlesque, and what was the other one?
Chris Angel.
Yeah, I'd go with option A. How about you?
I think I choose option B.
Okay.
I really like Zombie Burlesque. It's a good show. Chris Angel, he gets a worse rap than he should. I've been to his shows. They're not good, but people blast him more than they should. And Menopause the Musical, I don't know anything about it. I don't think it's going to be very good for me, but if you're telling me it's a toss-up between Puppetry of the Penis and Menopause the Musical.
That was the next question I was going to ask
I mean,
you.
at least it goes the direction I would prefer, I guess. So give me Menopause the Musical.
There we go. Okay, I have one that's kind of a little bit similar. It's more simple, but similar. Would you do a solo seat at the Tournament of Kings or Awakening?
Which is obviously a solo seat as well.
Yes, solo seat at Awakenings. Front row.
I mean, I've done a solo seat at Awakening.
So have I, actually.
We both have. Yeah, that's true. I haven't done it at Tournament of Kings. I would do that because honestly, at Tournament of Kings, you would have food that you can eat to kind of keep you busy as you're doing it.
Not fall asleep, right?
There's reasonable entertainment in front of you. I think that would be a better option than doing Awakening.
And there, by the way, it's okay to lick the bowl.
Oh, yeah, that is
because they
true.
don't have silverware. So.
No silverware, so you're set to go.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of a no-brainer. I was thinking about being a little self-conscious at least at Awakenings, you're in the dark and you're by yourself and people aren't quite as aware that you're seeing the show by yourself. A Tournament of Kings should be a little more obvious. So that was my hesitation, but I think that'd be more fun.
I mean, at Awakening, Josh, there's probably only 40 or 50 other people in the whole theater. So it's extremely obvious that you're there. Okay, my last one I had, Josh. Your gambling budget is $10,000 for a weekend. Would you rather play slots all weekend, but you have no credit and the largest denomination bill available is a $5 bill? Or play the tables, but the only game available is $5 blackjack and has a $10 table maximum?
I have $10,000.
You get $10,000. You can play slots, no credit. You can't go get a Tito ticket. You got to feed it in $5 at a time. Or you can play at the tables, and you can take a marker there if you want to, but it's a $5 blackjack table, $10 maximum.
Boy, that would seem like it would just go on forever. I think I do the slots because I could spend an hour or two feeding in the money, and then it would be in.
Okay.
Or maybe 3 hours, however long it would take me to feed in $10,000 in $5 bills.
I mean, Josh, some of these bill acceptors are pretty horrible nowadays, and maybe, it's probably 5 to 10 seconds per bill. So, I mean, you can only get like $30 fed in per
Blackjack,
minute.
though, trying to burn through $10,000 at a $5 table or a $10 table would just take forever. Like you'd be moving up or down so slowly.
I mean, if it was me, I would say I'd take a table and play all 5 spots at table maximum.
Well, see, I didn't think of that. You're smarter than I am.
So you could at least get $50 and play at a time, and doubles and splits and all that good stuff could make it a little bit more enjoyable.
I could be sitting at one of those 4-thing slot machines and running around sticking $5 bills in each of the 4 corners.
I think I would do the table game side.
Yeah, at least you have some social interaction with the dealer as you're burning through your $10,000.
Yeah, there you go. Anything else on your side, Josh?
Yeah, I got one more for you. Would you rather break even at a crap session, long session, but knock out 4 rowdy don't players? Or would you rather win $2,000 with bad dealers after 2 hours?
Ooh. That's hard for me.
I do love long break even, but you knock out 4 don'ts.
I love knocking off don't players. I love good sessions. The money is meaningless to me.
Okay.
So the $2,000 win, don't really care about that.
Right.
I can't stand bad dealers. So I'm taking option A there.
There you go. What about $10,000 in bad dealers? Where's the line there? Where's the over under?
Oh, I think I'll deal with the bad dealers at 10,000. What's the over under on that? Probably somewhere between 4 and 6.
All right. I like it. I'm
what about you?
Kind of similar. I might do it for 2,000. I might be. That's enough of a needle mover to me to take the bad dealers, Jay.
Okay. Wow, calling him out by name. Ouch. Yeah,
he'll appreciate that.
That was fun running through those. But after the break, we'll have answers to your listener questions and spin the big wheel. So stick around. Zorkfest 2024. It's almost here. I'm seeing the excitement all over Twitter. Josh, you're ready to go, I assume.
I am definitely ready to go. Yeah, ready to go. Yeah, there's lots of excitement. For those that don't know, and I'm by no means the expert, but Zorkfest is a combination. It's a conference in Las Vegas, and we would love to see you there. Michael Traeger and the team at Travel Zork would love to see you there. But what Zorkfest is, it's a combination of learning about points and miles and learning about casino loyalty and the accumulation of tier credits and status on the casino side. And I think when Michael came up with the idea of Zorkfest, it was because he knew that some of his clients on his travel side were really into the points and miles thing, but they wanted to get into the casino loyalty side and figure out how to do that, kind of that same thing on the casino side. And then he discovered there was a market on the other side too, casino people that knew about casino loyalty that wanted to turn that into how do I hustle the points and miles game. And really it's about the hustle. And honestly, and I think this is true with you, Chris, I'm not a points hustle guy. I don't do a good enough job at that. And sometimes I think I really should, so I could get first class seats here or there or suites here or there. And I'm not that good at it. So Zorkfest is a place that you can go if you're like me and learn a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So that's November 1st through 3rd. That's at Horseshoe Las Vegas. And you can visit travelzork.com/Zorkfest to get signed up today. That's travelzork.com/ZORKFEST. Listener question time, Josh. We got an email from David. He had a more detailed version of this question, but he simplified it a little bit for us. So here's how it goes. First time making use of a host. Is there expected etiquette during the actual trip, such as contacting the host to let them know you've arrived? My play rating that got me hosted was an outlier where I think the pit boss rated me way higher than warranted. Still feel getting a host in the first place was a fluke. So Josh, actual trip communication with the host, is there etiquette there? Do you reach out when you first arrive, when you leave? Do you need to do anything in the middle? What do you think?
Well, good question. For those that aren't hosted, usually hosts know when you arrive. Most systems let a host know when you arrive, or a host is tracking their guests that are coming in that day to see when they arrive. So I don't think I've ever just proactively reached out to a host and said, I'm here, that kind of thing. Oftentimes, I will reach out to a host somewhere and say, hey, if you're around, particularly if it's a newer host, I'd love to say hello to you and meet you in person if I haven't. So I might do some communication like that at first. And the next thing, David, I don't know if you think that your offer or your ability to get hosted or your whatever the host set you up with was based on some fluky rating, I don't think I'd say anything in that case. I would just play the way you're going to play whatever your normal level of play is and see what happens. Thank the host when you're done. Thanks so much for hosting me. Really enjoyed it. And by the way, I do that after every trip. I always send a thank you message to my host, win or loss. Even if the trip has been sucky for whatever reason, I always say, thank you so much for hosting me. See you next trip. Try and lay the groundwork for that kind of thing. But no, I don't think I'd say anything. Would you, Chris?
No, I wouldn't say anything either. I'm not going to say anything when I arrive. Like Josh said, they're going to know. We've had hosts before that greeted us at the door because they knew we were coming up at that time, especially if they're arranging your transportation. They obviously know what time you're going to be there, but they get notified on their, on their cell phone. They have apps and systems and stuff that let them know. I mean, it's worse than that. I mean, they can find you on the casino floor anytime. They know exactly what slot machine number you're at. They know what table you're at. They know where you are. So if they want to meet you, they can easily find you.
Absolutely. And it's disturbing when you're sitting there. I mean, I've had it happen. I'll be sitting there at a slot machine and all of a sudden my host or a host will come up and say, hi, Mr. Duffy, whatever it is there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It happens a lot, especially at Caesars properties. I've had that happen to me at Planet Hollywood 4 or 5 times before.
Yeah, that's where I've had it happen to, is at Caesars properties. It's weird when it happens. It's very unexpected.
So no, but don't feel like you need to do anything communication-wise, but it's always very nice to send a message when you're leaving. I usually just send one and say, hey, thank you so much for the trip. I really appreciate you getting it set up. I'm heading out. If there's anything you can do on the back end, when you take a look at my bill, I would appreciate it, but no expectations.
Oh, that's a really good point, Chris. I'm glad you made it. I do the same thing. I'll say, if you want to take a quick look at my folio to see if there's anything left, that would be fantastic. That kind of a thing.
Absolutely. Message on Patreon from Jamie, Josh, and Chris. How much should a player be considerate to dealers with their pressing moves? I like to play strategies that regress after a couple hits to recoup my money, then press aggressively after that. On a $15 table, he usually does the following. He'll start at 66 inside, he'll press to 110 inside after one hit, collect twice, and then regress to 96. And he goes on to talk about, Josh, what that would look like at a $25 table, which is much, much messier because it would be talking about going to like 40 and 48 on those numbers, which are weird numbers and regressing. What are your thoughts here, Josh? Is it okay to be obnoxious to the dealers going up and down with bets like this?
You're saying Jamie's obnoxious?
Well, I mean, he's asking if he's obnoxious. I'm not saying that he is, although it is obnoxious, but I'm not going to individually call him out for doing that. But what do you think, Josh? Do you think this is okay?
So good question, Jamie. And I think there's a line, and I think it depends on the cruise. I think it depends on how well they know you, how well you're tipping, all that kind of stuff. You'll get a sense from the crew about whether or not what they think you're doing is annoying, I think. You know, you have to use your own judgment too, but you'll also get a sense from the crew if they seem like it's a pain or not. And I think you just kind of have to go from there. I mean, you can obviously play the way you want to play, and you can play the way that makes you happy and screw the dealers if that's important to you, and you know, play the way you want. But if they're being considerate to them is important, I would say just kind of, and you can even ask them, does it bother you if I take my bets down here or make these goofy bets or that kind of thing? I mean, I used to bet, Chris would remember it was, but whatever it was on the line that paid some god-awful combination, the dealers would always kind of semi-whine about.
Here?
And right.
Yeah.
And so I stopped doing that because, you know, every once in a while, maybe just for fun kind of thing, but I didn't want to make them have to, you know, you don't want to make the dealers have to think more than they want to, and I don't mean that in any sort of negative way, just, you know, they're trying to get through the day and move as fast as they can and be happy, and anything that requires them to stop what they're doing and kind of process something different, I think takes away from their flow and probably their enjoyment. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, first of all, ignore what I said earlier. Whether you're being obnoxious or not, it's your money. So play any way that you want to play. I mean, I'm never going to knock somebody for playing the way that makes them happy. That being said, just thinking about it from a dealer's perspective, as somebody that was a dealer, is around dealers consistently, and strives to make dealers very appreciative and happy that I'm at a table with them, dealers get really annoyed by bets that get pressed and then regressed and then taken down and then put back up. Nothing annoys dealers more than doing that. They think that you're trying to take a shot sometimes when you're doing these sort of things. They're like, oh, yeah, I pressed it that time, or oh, I turned that bet off.
Right.
You know, things like that can annoy dealers. Yeah, tipping can overcome that a little bit, but just be cognizant. Don't make plays that are, you know, really just a hassle and a frustration. You put 4 numbers up, and then you take them all down, and then you throw the money and put them back up, and then they're on, then they're off, and then they're pressed, and they're regressed. Right. It's a lot. I'm not saying you can't do it because it's your money. You can do whatever the hell you want, but don't expect them to be, you know, on your side and happy with you for doing these things, because that's unrealistic as well. So it's just whatever line you want to walk there is fine.
Right. Now, I think we have a listener, Trey, who plays a strategy where he starts out with a certain amount of money across, and then after, I don't know the exact thing, but after 1 or 2 hits or something like that, he regresses down to a base level, and then he goes back up. And I think that what kind of makes that okay, I mean, it's okay no matter what, but what makes it probably tolerable for dealers is he does the same thing every time. And I think consistency is a key. Whereas, Chris, when you were talking about turning your bets off and on at random, if you just told the dealers, hey, every third roll, I'm going to turn my bets off, that would probably be much more okay than some randomness to it. I think if your regression is a system that they can get used to and know that's how you want to play, I think they'll probably be more fine with that than if it's kind of haphazard.
I don't know. Honestly, I agree with you. If it's less haphazard, that's good for the dealers.
Right.
I'm just thinking from the perspective, I think dealers would rather bets be taken down than regressed and then pressed, than regressed, then pressed.
I don't know. We'll have to ask Jay.
I mean, logistically, Josh, it's a lot easier to take a whole bet down out of the box and hand it to you and say, here, than it is to take a $50 5 and regress it to 30.
Yeah.
Because then they have to break a quarter and get 5 nickels and make, you know, things like that are just kind of annoying, I would think, from their perspective. I mean, I'm not them. I'm not in their shoes, but I don't know, just something to think about. But again, Jamie, do whatever makes you happy. It's your money. Go crazy.
Right. Great question. Really good question.
Josh, the next email is addressed, hi, Josh. So since my throat is already bothering me, why don't you take this one?
Oh, goody. Unfortunately, I've got to share a bad experience I recently had at Cosmo. I'm MGM Gold and a big Aria fan, but decided to try Cosmo for the first time after they integrated. They comped me a terrace 1-bedroom suite for a 2-night stay, but the first night I went right to sleep after some flight delays. The next day I realized so many things were wrong. Among the issues with the room, the keypad where you swipe on the door had partially fallen off. The cover was on the ground in the hall. There was a missing do not disturb sign. The makeup magnifying mirror in the bathroom was broken and hanging by its hinge.
Okay.
Sink and shower were visibly dirty. I wiped an unknown creamy substance off the towel rack inside the shower.
I was okay up until this point.
Matt, you're having a bad trip so far.
Yep.
The toilet would run nonstop unless manipulated. The shower door wouldn't open properly, so water would spray out while showering, and I could have pulled the towel bar rack off the door if I wanted to. It was hanging on by a thread. Worst of all, the glass and balcony, I was not facing the strip, was so dirty that you couldn't see through the glass, and the furniture on the balcony was badly stained. Anyhow, because I only had one night left and many friends and I were either using the room or playing craps, I didn't bother to call to report the issues. I showed a video of all of these issues to the front desk the next morning at checkout, but they mentioned that because I didn't give them a chance to fix any of the issues, they couldn't comp me anything or do anything for me. They also mentioned they can't clean the balconies regularly. Why is the glass on the suites with the fountain view crystal clear? He wanted to know. I thought this was ridiculous. Were they going to bring me a new shower door if I called? Please,
No.
Please correct me if I'm acting entitled, but I really think they should have taken something off my bill or at least apologize. Is it possible that my most recent Vegas experience being at Encore made this seem worse than it actually is? But the difference in quality of service and room product was truly jarring, especially since Cosmo markets itself as being in the top tier of hotels. Aria once comped my food order simply because the cocktail waitress at the pool temporarily lost my credit card and kept me at the pool for 20 minutes. Also, the invited guest check-in wasn't open in the morning, so I had to wait in the regular line. And I know. And I feel
that's Josh's nightmare.
It really is. And I feel this may have contributed to the dismissive, rude treatment by the front desk person. I told them I wouldn't be returning to the property, and they didn't send me the post-trip survey. This is all unfortunate because the craps crews were truly excellent. But all in all, my room felt very much like it was from New York, or Park MGM, or then Cosmo. Would my experience have been different if I had been working through my PCS who I never talked to because they're useless? Oh well, I know Aria will make me feel better when I'm back there in a few weeks. Lastly, hi Chris, you were awesome too. I just had to mess with you. Keep up the great work you do with the podcast. Best, Matt.
Gosh, Matt. Well, I mean, we've been talking a lot about how Cosmo's fallen into disrepair recently, and I don't expect that to change much more because that's MGM's kind of MO. They'll let it keep going for a while, and then eventually they'll make a grand change. But, you know, a couple of those things you mentioned wouldn't bother me at all. Keypad falling, do not disturb sign, makeup mirror broken, don't care. Even the toilet running, it's annoying, but who cares? Things like dirt, though, visibly dirty sinks and showers, substances that you talked about, especially creamy substances. No, I have a big problem with that. I would contact them, and I probably would have asked for a new room at that point when I saw that. And I guess it is true that if you don't give them the chance to correct something, there's not much they can do. I'm not surprised they didn't compensate you, because especially because you're telling them on the way out, they may just think that you messed up some of those things or, you know, left a mess or whatever it may be. Going through a PCS, no, it wouldn't have changed anything at all.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, it would have had zero effect on what's going on. I hate to hear that you had a bad experience, but you aren't the first person to say that Cosmo is in need of a little bit of love.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That kind of sucks, Matt. And I purposely don't bring like a black light or anything with me to my rooms because I don't want to know what might be in there. I just assume that there's going to be bad stuff. And it's unfortunate you got to see it with your naked eye. But yeah, after the fact, it's tough. I mean, I would like for them to have done something. I don't know what that something might have been, but it's hard to fix something at the end. You know, they can't really cure it or try and make it better or make you feel better or anything after the fact. I think with me, I tend to be the kind of person, I mean, you guys know this, I tend to be the kind of person that just lets most of those things roll off unless it's there's loud music next to me or something like that really is disturbing my stay, I don't care much about something that's broken or hanging as long as it's not interfering with whatever it is I want to do in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt, horrible experience. I get it. I do feel bad for you. Yeah, just stick with Bellagio Aria. You'll have a better experience.
Sure.
Okay, Josh, I think that wraps up our listener questions, so let's keep it moving. Patreon. That's patreon.com/crapvegas. Josh, what do we have new over there?
So we have our most recent FCV, our Fading Crap Vegas show, where Chris and I are picking some college games and some NFL games against the spread and having fun with that. That's actually been a lot of fun. Chris and I are really enjoying doing that. We've also, of course, got our fantasy football leagues going over there on the Patreon side. And then on our last CVP show last week, we talked about the way that Chris and I have evolved as gamblers and as Vegas visitors over the years. And that was a fun kind of deeper dive on some of those things than we've talked about before. So lots of stuff going on over on Patreon. We try and make it a lot of fun. We try and do different things. As I said, Chris and I are having a great time with our Fading Crap Vegas show. We're actually going to record that right after we record this episode today. So jump on over and support us on Patreon if you'd like to. As I've said before, you don't even have to listen to all the stuff we put out. If you just want to support the show because you like listening to the main show, that's okay too.
Absolutely. So a big thank you to those that signed up over the past 2 weeks. That's Jacob W., Eli S., Jim K., Dale E., Mark B. with an annual KCS membership. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Laura H., Jeremy H., no relation from what I can tell, and Jeremy was an annual patron, Josh.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And Clay M. And one thing else I wanted to point out, Josh, if you remember correctly, we started our Patreon Survivor Challenge a few weeks ago for the NFL season.
That's right.
We started with 114 entries. We are down to 46 after week 3.
I forgot who had picked in week 3, so I don't know if they won or lost.
I don't know, but I blame the Bengals for that number being significantly lower.
Oh
than
yeah, there were a few big upsets in the first couple weeks.
Absolutely. Upcoming trips, Josh. Surprise, I will be at Wynn when this episode comes out.
Oh, we didn't even start with that, saying our time temporal paradox stuff.
Oh yeah, we didn't. I didn't have to guess how things were going. No, I had the weekend actually open up for me, and a weird thing, I'm actually going to be flying in on a Saturday instead of a Friday to make some things work, but I will be there Saturday to Monday morning. So when you hear this, if you're a patron, you're hearing this on Friday if you're a KCS patron. If not, if you're hearing this on Sunday, I will be in Vegas when you're listening. Come on out to the Wynn tables. Look for the guy downstairs by himself at 6 o'clock in the morning drinking a coffee, and it's probably me.
Right. You're not going to be a slot machine, not going to be at Huff and Puff?
No, I probably won't. If somebody does see me on a slot machine playing by myself, take a photo and send it to Josh.
And I've had some people say, are you joining Chris? Unfortunately, I can't make it this weekend. So he's on his own. He's going to be hanging out at Dick's Last Resort, licking the bowl.
And Josh, I think just getting a little closer, I think we're going to both do F1 together, though.
That's what it sounds like. And that is going to be really exciting if we can put all the pieces together. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that would be a Venetian Palazzo trip for us. That would make the most sense financially and race ticket wise. That's the best offer that we have, is to go there for that. So I think that's probably what we'll do if we go.
Yep.
Friendly reminder, subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app, and to visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. Josh, we've made it to the end, which means it must be big wheel time, especially because my voice is now completely cutting out.
Yeah. Maybe in the interest of that, we'll do a quick wheel today. Let me spin the wheel.
I appreciate it.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready? Josh, spin the wheel.
So, Chris, you're familiar with 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. So we're going to kind of do 6 Degrees of Las Vegas.
Okay.
Does that sound fun? I know you're excited for this. All right.
I can't wait to see where we're going here.
So I know you and I both love some EDM, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we specifically pick clubs to go to at night that feature EDM music.
And Chris and I have talked about, we haven't talked about on the show, we've talked about going to EDC this year. In addition to F1, we're talking about going to EDC.
Yes, that would be terrific. I can't wait. So what if I asked you to figure out the connection between EDC Las Vegas and Star Trek? Could you do it? Is Garrett Wong going to be there?
He's not. He may be there, but that's not. I don't know if Garrett's into EDM or not.
1 degree of separation.
All right. So you're familiar with I Love Lucy, right?
Yes. I mean, it predates me by a good amount, but yes.
And so you probably didn't know, but the success of I Love Lucy allowed Lucille Ball and her husband Desi to purchase their own studio, Desilu Productions.
Okay.
When Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball divorced in 1960, she took over the studio herself, making her one of the most powerful women in Hollywood.
Okay.
Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, came to Desilu, that's her production company, with an idea for a pilot that would turn into Star Trek.
Okay.
Lucille Ball bought the series. It's a long story, but if it weren't for her, there'd be no Star Trek today. Okay?
Oh, okay. I'm still following.
All right. That's part one. Part two, we look to Lucy and Desi's kids. So Lucy and Desi had a daughter named Lucy Arnaz in 1951.
Makes sense.
In 1980, Lucy Arnaz, Lucille Ball's daughter, married Lawrence Luckinbill, who's an actor, playwright, and director. Lawrence, or Larry as I'm going to call him, also portrayed Spock's half-brother in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier in 1989. But that's kind of off topic.
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones, so that's great.
Well, as it turned out, Lawrence has a child from a previous marriage when he married Lucille Ball's daughter, Lucy Arnaz. And his name is Nicholas Luckinbill. And so we get to the end of the story. Nick Luckinbill is a VP at a company called Insomniac Events, which puts on EDC.
What in the fuck? Thank you, Josh, for that. All our listeners are now dumber for having listened to it. What is next on the wheel?
All right, with that, let's spin the wheel.
This is truly a Billy Madison situation here. Oh, my.
You don't get that on any other Vegas podcast.
Well, the good news is no matter what it stops on, it can't be worse than that.
How's that for a random wheel spin, though?
How did all that fit onto that tiny little pie piece segment of the wheel itself? Like, how does it fit?
It's a good question. All right, this one has a little audio to it. I didn't play any Lucille Ball audio.
Ooh, an audio daily double.
Tell me if this means anything to you.
Every corner of the sky, still we're holding on together. You've got all my love.
Think you recognize the voice?
It sounds like Coldplay.
Very well done. So nothing beats a little free publicity, Chris. So wearing a frumpy, oversized brown suit with a yellow button-down shirt and blue tie, and adding in some thick frame glasses and clunky sneakers, a certain lead singer of a rock band, which you just identified, appeared on stage incognito at Dino's Lounge this past weekend.
Interesting.
Chris Martin took the stage holding a single balloon on a string to sing the swoony ballad from the band's upcoming 10th studio album due out October 4th.
Oh,
and that was a
that's pretty
clip
cool
from The Fan.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. He has a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, I thought you might get it.
If you can listen for a little while, yeah, it's not too hard to pick up. But yeah, I like when people do that.
Yeah.
There used to be all those clips on YouTube and stuff of when Jimmy Fallon would take artists down into the New York subways and record with them dressed up in a costume. Like I remember Miley Cyrus did it once, and then a couple other people did it. But no, I think that's really cool.
Have you seen the Adele one where she got all in makeup and fake nose and everything? I think it's in the UK or something. And went on to it was a fake Adele competition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Hopefully
and
she
went
won.
and well, it was funny because they had the reaction shots of the ladies that were there to go sing, as Adele. And they kind of were nudging each other as they started to figure out that might really be her. And anyway.
Or they're saying, we have no chance at winning this now.
That's right. Which wheel story did you like better?
I'm going to go with option B.
There we go.
Is this a would you rather? If we get to do this again, I would rather have option B than option A. And I apologize to all our listeners that lost 3 minutes of their life listening to that story.
That's why we do the wheel at the end.
Josh, anything else we got before we get out of here?
No, we can cut it short. I know your voice is rough today.
Yeah, it's getting out of there. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully I got to meet a lot of you this weekend when I was in Vegas. And we'll talk about that trip more on our next main episode 65. And we're also going to be talking on episode 65 a little bit more about an email we got from listener Tony about money laundering. It factors into Josh's last episode discussion he had about it going on at Wynn. We also have updates from Resorts World and a lot more. So I think you guys are all going to like that.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
Or the easiest way is always going to be on Twitter. He's at Vegas. Oh, I forgot to let you jump in. Sorry.
I was ready to say it and you just
I
powered
saw
through.
your arms and I was like, okay.
You know 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is 7 degrees of Las Vegas.
Okay. And hold on though. Isn't it 6 degrees?
Is it? Why do I always say 7?
It's 6.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I think it's 6. I'm pretty sure.
Should we re-record that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Maybe I can take that $5 and get lucky at the dice table.
Oh, you don't know anything about playing dice.
Yes, I do. I have been studying this little book here. How to Gamble in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Do you know that you get 30 to 1 if you bet on boxcars and win?
What are boxcars?
6 twos.